All right, so we're gonna be doing something pretty exciting. We're gonna basically be going over the most iconic, sort of like the most memorable goals from each season of RLCS, seasons 1 through 7, I believe we're at now. And some of the seasons we might do maybe 2 or 3 goals, because some seasons there was just like more than one that were really impressive or really memorable. But yeah, season 1, we've got first, and this one there was no argument at all here. We were just like, yes, this is the goal. This is like one of the most iconic goals ever, period, right? Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, like this is, I mean, I personally didn't watch RLCS in season 1, funny enough. I didn't come and watch this until after it happened, maybe like the next year, but watching it back is just like, it's so crazy to look at. Like these guys were doing these crazy things that nobody had seen before because the game was so new, and so like they were inventing new moves every day. Yeah. And so like this may look like some gold gameplay looking back at it, but that's by today's standards. Like back then, this was just like nobody had seen half of this stuff yet. And so the fact that he pulled that off in like one of the most clutch moments on the biggest stage for the biggest title was just like, it was going down in history no matter what.
Defense coming out from this iBuyPower team. Defense and iBuyPower, not things you usually talk about at the same time. He's carrying it.
So like I said, looks really simple, like compared to today's standards, but some of this stuff back then was like really new. And I actually talked to OverZero about this a little bit recently, and he was mentioning to me that back then the hitboxes were a lot more rigid. They were less rounded out, and so the touches that you could get weren't as soft. He said it was much harder to get like soft controlled touches in the air, and so like an air dribble like this would be bouncing off the nose of your car, versus today it would be like solidly stuck to your nose. And so the fact that he was able to get this stuck to his car so well just shows the amount of control he had back then. And so we see Mike rolls his shadowing, not really anything he can do here. OverZero knows it, so he takes off with the ball. And really at this point, once he gets it on his nose, it's kind of like smooth sailing from here. He just has to pick a spot in the net and like full boost it there. And that's what he does, is he just like really pushes it. Kuxir tries to get up for it, ends up a little bit too high, and OverZero just like dunks it through him here. And I mean, there's not much to say about this clip again, because there's not much to break down compared to today, but just looking back at this shot, it's just like, this was like the first time this kind of thing even happened on a stage like this.
It's kind of funny too, like he only touches the ball like two or three times, like now we've got people like Gainer and others who can air dribble literally forever, LED, whatever his name is.
Yeah, like if you look at it, it's like floating off of his nose every single time he touches it.
Yeah.
2, 3, like 3 or 4 touches, and it's just like everybody's freaking out about this. And I mean, I would be freaking out too, but today I'd be like, oh, nice air dribble. You're really learning how to hold the ball in the air.
What are you even doing going for air dribbles, man? That's like what it would be today. Like now people air dribble at the high, but that's really funny.
Yeah, like you can hear the suspense in the clip, just like, especially when Lawler's like saying OverZero, like he starts off with like OverZero, like a question mark, and then when he puts it in, he's just like OverZero.
It's so great.
One of my favorite parts of this clip though is
the awkward handshake.
Yes, is how long it takes OverZero to realize Luchino's trying to dap him up. He's like, Luchino's like, yo, good stuff, 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 yeah.
And then him and Kronovi too, like, don't know. Yeah. Oh, it's so great.
But I mean, I would be so excited that I would probably forget how to shake hands too.
But anyways, yeah, this is sort of like an iconic, just like ridiculous pass play. Even today, this would be insane. Like even today, most high-level players wouldn't even have the game sense to do this. And the question is whether it was on purpose or not.
So like this is one of those things that's like, this play itself would stand in time. Like people can do this today and execute it much better, and it be still just as effective as it was back then. Like air dribbles are a different story. Like if you air dribble, you're probably gonna get blocked for the most part. Yeah. But if you do like a pre-jump pass in midair, it would be so difficult to read on the defense that like even today it would still work. And so the fact that they were doing this in the second season of this game being out, like I want to say this was on purpose, because like they were just so confident that they could do whatever they wanted.
In the way of Kuxir's attempted shot. Back into the middle, Sad Jr., nice flick, looks for Jacob. No way!
So I don't think that this was like the idea going into it, but I feel like this was like an adaptation from Jacob.
Yeah.
I feel like we see Sad Jr. throw this ball forward, And as soon as he throws it forward, Jacob notices he's floating right behind it. That's when Jacob's like, okay, somebody's probably going to come in and try and make this save. I'm going to tap it before that save happens. And if I just tap it, Sad Jr. is just going to fly right through it again. And I mean, I guess that's what we see what happens. Yeah, so Jacob jumps over Greasy and like in front of him, so that Greasy can't really get to that. And it just puts it perfectly right back into Sad. And Sad, look, he's boosting still, you know what I mean? So like, Jacob had to call, like, I'm putting this back into you, I'm putting this back into you. But like, the fact that just pulling something off like this back in season 2 is, like, this game had just came out, like...
Yeah, this
is insane.
It is insane. I feel like you're right. I think Jacob's really the one who like makes this play happen, but then Sad Jr. he either sees that he's doing it or you're right, he communicates it. And,
right, he follows through with it for sure. It's definitely not something that's just like, oh, that just happened. It was like, it was happening, developing, they made it happen, and then they like freaked out because obviously it was intentional in the moment.
So, like, a little backstory to this, or not really backstory, but what happened leading up to this. They, Selfless was having, like, a really good run at RLCS, their only really good run in RLCS, with Dapper, and they were on, like, they were playing really fast. And Flipside, it was actually down a goal in Game 5, and if you back up, you can see it, you don't have to, but Kuxir scores a 0-second goal to go into this overtime. And then does this in overtime. So this whole sequence in this series, I actually think is like one of those really iconic moments in RLCS.
So Marky passes this midair.
Yeah,
like another one of these like really big passes. Like, so this isn't even like a double touch that was just like off the backboard that he followed. This was like he set it up himself from midair. And
so even more impressive, right?
Yeah, like he had to hit this aerial first. Like he had to get up for this really quickly. And again, like they're hitting these back then, but not consistent like they are today. And so the fact that he gets up for this so fast, he's got 2 players in the midfield that could have went up for it and beaten him, but he goes up for it, gets like this perfect touch to the backboard. And Dapper even tries to get up for this and like read the double touch, I think. But just like the fact that maybe he's not reading the double touch, maybe he's trying to read it off the backboard. Because today, somebody will be flying here to block this shot. They know the double touch is coming. Yeah. But back then, I don't think they did. And so I feel like Dapper might have been trying to read this off the backboard before Kuxir. And it's just, again, like we said today, this wouldn't happen. But back then, like players were not as quick to the ball as they are today. But he gets this ball off the backboard, beats 2 defenders with it. Miho and Dapper both commit for it. And I mean, if this were me, even back then, if this were me, I'd be freaking out at the 2 people up for this. Like I'd be looking at them going, oh God, they're gonna hit it. I gotta change my hit. But Kuxir's just like, nah, they're gonna miss. I got it. He just floats right into it. Like he's just so confident in the fact that he's gonna stick to it. Look at it, he's standing up just like, yeah, I just did that.
Marky like picks him up, I think.
Yeah, there he goes.
It's so cool. I actually think Dapper was trying. I think Dapper at this level, at this time, was in a similar place mechanically, maybe to where I maybe am now or was, where like it looks like he knows he needs to read the double touch, like read the backboard, but he's sort of like a champ 3 now, or even like a champ 2, who they know it, but they are not that good at it. You know what I mean?
Right, like they go for it, but they're kind of just like fishing.
They're floating in the middle, like hoping to hit it, whereas you would be able to read this better than me. And it kind of looks like they have the right idea, but defending the backboard is another skill that like people didn't have the way they do now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so this goal, everybody knows about it because this was legitimately, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, this was the first ceiling shot scored in competitive play.
Yep.
So not only was it the first ceiling shot scored in competitive play, it was the first time I had ever seen anybody fake the ceiling shot at all. Like not even in ranked, casual. This is the first time I saw anybody fake somebody into a ceiling shot. But it works out so perfect off the kickoff, goes in his favor, right to him off the wall. Like, look at Torment. That's my favorite part of this clip. Torment is staring at his screen, trying to figure out, he's like, what did you even just do? Like, Torment, literally the first thing he does, he looks over at Squishy, and like, he's like so baffled. And then he's like, let me see how you did that on your screen, because from my screen, I don't even know what just happened. So yeah, this is the iconic ceiling shot that everybody knows. So it starts off with the perfect kickoff. I don't know if it's intentional. It almost seems like it is because he's already like halfway up the field ready for this to come to him. People were controlling kickoffs to certain directions at this time for sure. So right here, once it gets to this point, the ball's kind of past anybody's reach. Magnus can't get it, Alot can't get it. And so Squishy's kind of free in the air to do what he wants here. And of course, knowing Squishy, he goes for the ceiling shot instead of anything else. So he takes up the ceiling, gets the perfect first touch. That's the most important part of a ceiling shot, is that first touch. Wherever this ball ends up is like super crucial. And so you want it to get to the ceiling almost without it touching the ceiling. And he does that perfectly. And so now the ball and him are gonna be falling at the same speed. So once that happens, he's on the ceiling, falling off with the ball right about now. He's off the ceiling, and it's important that he doesn't jump here. If he jumps, he doesn't get to hold on to his flip as long as he wants. He becomes very predictable. He has to flip within a second and a quarter. So Magnus does the right thing here, absolutely does the right thing by jumping off the wall and pressuring this ball, because that's how you cut off a ceiling shot. And again, this was the first ceiling shot scored in competitive play. So the fact that Magnus is here knowing how to defend it already, like these guys are just so smart, it's crazy. So he's off the wall, jumping for this ball, trying to cut off the angle. And Squishy in this position right now, it's kind of hard to see, but he's upside down. He's upside down, he just fell off the ceiling, and he's boosting to the ball. And he's boosting to the ball, and the fact that he's upside down is super crucial here because that allows him to get the fake. Once he gets so close to the ball that he almost touches it, this is where he starts to point his car now this way, because now he's behind the ball, Magnus can't see him, and he's boosting this way to slow himself down and again match the speed of the ball so that he stays behind the ball here. He tilts his car this way, and he continues this rotation as Magnus goes over him so that he can get the flip over the second player. So he fakes it under this first player, Magnus. As soon as he gets under Magnus, now Metza knows, okay, I have to go for this because Magnus just missed. I was expecting Magnus to hit it. He covered the high angle. I've got the low now. And Squishy is now under the ball by now because not only did he boost to slow down, he then boosted on his way down to get back under the ball. And then right here is where he flips because he knows Metzenars has to go for it. Metza knows he has to go for it. And there's just nothing Metzenars can do here. The ball is too far above him. Squishy's too far under the ball. He's gonna pop it up over him. And so he goes under one, over the other for the first ever ceiling shot in ranked. Or not ranked, in competitive.
And it's the best, I mean, I would say it's like arguably the best ceiling shot ever in competitive. Like there still aren't really any ceiling shots that compare to this because like no one's faked like this in competitive.
At this time, like nobody had done it before. And so for him to do it here just shows that it wasn't like, I don't think it was something that he pre-planned. I think he went for a ceiling shot and realized Magnus had him blocked. And so he thought, okay, I can't hit this or else Magnus dunks it.
Yeah.
And so he just didn't hit it. And then he's like, oh, I can score this over Metza now. And so I think it was like, it was instinctual for him. It was one of those things that he's so good at the game that it was one of those feelings that he got. Instead of like, I'm going to go do this, it was, all right, I'm going for the ceiling shot. Oh, wait, I have to get under this guy. Oh, I have to get over this guy. This is one of those things that everything had to go right. Like literally everything. So honestly, I don't know why K-Dop hits this to the other side of the field. I want to say K-Dop hitting this to his own side of the field to the ground would have been the better play here. But for some reason, he decides to hit it forward. Violent Panda, again, like I feel like these touches on Dignitas were just like, get it, like we're rushing. We're trying to
get it away from our goal, basically, which isn't how you want to think.
And so these touches are perfect, right? And then right here, still kept it up. And then this 50-50 from Fireburner, I genuinely think that this is how he planned for it to go. Watching this clip back, watching him position his car, watching him, because he leans back out of the challenge, like halfway into it. And that's what like pinches it out into the perfect spot. And so he goes up for this challenge.
He doesn't dodge, right?
No, like the 50 God himself. Like he knows what he's doing here. He like leans back into it, and so it pinches out just like perfectly to hit this corner. He could have done so many things wrong here. Literally, like he could have done anything else and they would have lost right here.
Yep.
And so he gets this perfect 50-50. It bounces into the corner perfectly. You see, I think Garrett might have been going for it at one point, but Jstn, I think, calls him off. Jstn's already in the air. Like Jstn jumped for this, I want to say, before it bounced. And so he's up for this ball, floating in the air before it even bounces. Nobody else is in the air here. K-Dop goes on the backboard like he should. he gets the perfect touch down to where it's enough down to go under K-Dop, but still not touch the ground. And that's like really what's iconic about this shot, is that this was like a pixel perfect shot. If he shot this any lower, it would have bounced, I think, right before going in.
Yeah, so but he needed to hit it under the defender on the wall, though, right? That's why he did it.
Right. That's exactly, like, K-Dop had his high angle, and so if he didn't shoot this low, it wasn't going in. And so right here, right, we see K-Dop. If he puts this anywhere above this line, K-Dop saves it, and he knows it. And he puts it under that line, puts it perfectly, doesn't touch, doesn't bounce, goes in. The fact that that could even happen just like went to show that literally anything could happen in Rocket League. I mean, how long do they keep the ball up for? Let's see, it goes to 0. It goes to 0. We've got 11 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, a full 13 seconds this ball stays in the air in a Game 7 second series grand finals with two of the best teams in the world.
Dude, we were watching this, me and my brother were watching this in the living room, and my daughter was napping because this was in Europe, so like it was at like 2 o'clock, and she was like 2 or something at the time, and she was napping, and my brother stood up and screamed so loud that he woke her up. She'd only been napping for like a half an hour. I was like,
oh
no, but we both were like screaming so loud because it was such a crazy moment. This was the moment I was sold on Rocket League as like the best esport, or like one of the best esports in the world.
This was the first flip reset, really, like, that showed you flip resets were useful in competitive play, and this was at Worlds. This was like a flip reset that nobody even expected him to come out with this. Like, the fact that he gets it by 2 players and still scores it is just so insane. So like the pass comes from Torment. Torment goes up for it, flips through it, gets this really big pass. Squishy goes up for it and gets one touch right here that puts it over Metza. Like, Metza would have absolutely dunked him here if he put this any lower. So he pops this first touch over Metza, and then he's able to follow underneath it the entire time. And what's really important here is that he keeps his nose oriented towards the ball. He's always pushing himself closer to the ball here this entire time. His nose is oriented towards the ball the whole time, and then all he has to do is pull his car back, let the ball drop into his flip reset. He gets it. Not only does he get it, he jumps off of the ball. Like, a lot of times when you're going for a flip reset, you don't jump off the ball because it creates this separation between you and the ball. Most of the time, you don't want that separation because it leaves room for somebody to intercept it, or it leaves room for you to flip out from under the ball. But he jumps off the ball here, and I want to say it's intentional. He jumps off the ball to create this space because iIgnite is up in the air. iIgnite's about to dunk him, and so he creates this space so that after iIgnite gets a touch, it pushes away from iIgnite back into Squishy into an open space that iIgnite can't get it again. And so he now dunks him into the net here. And so I think that jump off the ball was intentional to create that space to give him room for this dunk.
That's so insane. I'm sorry, that's what I just say like to all of these, but I remember when you and I watched this live, because that was the first time we like had got to go to an RLCS together, and we were watching this, and I remember you saying like, I think he dunked him on purpose there. And I was like, I don't know how that's possible, but you're right. He does jump off of the ball, which is so insane. It's so weird. Yep, he does.
You see him
that's
really
not,
quickly. Like, he pops off it real quick.
Wow. Yeah. Like I practice these a ton, and that's not what ever happened. Like, I've never done that or even thought to do that, and I don't think he necessarily does either. But like you said, he's so instinctual in his play.
Right.
And the other thing is, people think that he does everything to be flashy, but the truth is,
no.
This flip reset isn't. When you break it down the way you have, it's insane, but it's not as beautiful as like some of them. You know what I mean? The fact that he's dunking, like, dunks are often not very appealing to me. I'm just like, oh, he got a dunk. But you, I remember when this happened, you were like, that's the craziest thing I've ever seen. Like, he dunked, he got his reset so that he could dunk him.
Yeah, it was like just everything he did in this shot was not in any way showing anything off. He was not like, oh, I'm so good, look at me do this. It was everything he did here was necessary to score. Yeah. He would not have scored had he done anything differently.
So crazy.
Oh my goodness, the flip reset.
Yeah, that jump is like, that's what really sold. Like, I was like, okay, he meant to do that, because if he was waiting for the reset, he would have just waited. But the fact that he's sitting there pressing his jump to jump off the ball right away and then immediately flipping again afterwards, you know that he's ready to dunk ignite off of this. So this is just like relentless pressure from G2 over and over. I mean, imagine if that went in, you know what I mean? Like that was the end of the series, or the end of the game, which could have been the end of the series with the momentum, but they're just firing shot after shot on Vitality's net. Vitality finally gets it out with like 2 seconds left, and it's upfield. And Chicago touching this down, I do not blame him whatsoever, because this bounces like a millisecond before 0 seconds. And so right here, Chicago's kind of panicking. He's like, I got to get in front of this ball. I just got to make sure it doesn't get to our net. Scrub hits it where nobody is, in the perfect spot, right off the corner, bounces it up. JKnaps clears it. I don't agree with JKnaps' heavy clear here. I feel like JKnaps, all he has to do in this situation is get one touch on this ball and stay with it.
Yeah.
Like if he just pops this ball and stays with it. He clears it out. Ferry has like this impossible angle. He super drifts around on this ball, like a 180 drift so fast, and pops this back up.
He turns into like an air dribble pass kind of, right? Or something?
Yeah, so he goes under the first player. He easily could have just thrown that ball and JKnaps would have dunked it, but he goes under JKnaps on that first one, and then he flips. He gets the flip and it goes over Rizzo, and now Scrub, or no, it's K-Dot. K-Dot gets it over the final defender. Now Scrub has the open net, and this is where I was stressed, is when he shot it like this.
He shoots it like top corner.
Yeah, I was like, is this corner and down? Like, is he not scoring this? And then it goes in, and he like explodes. You can see the entire Vitality team is just like, that's it. Like, that's the moment we needed. Because as soon as they score that, they just start dominating this series, and it becomes Vitality's series.
I didn't miss that. I remember when I watched it live, I was thinking, that's actually not as easy. It's a weird angle. Like,
yeah, no, you could easily hit this into the ground at any point.
Or like
that's the
bang it off. I mean, he even hits it higher than he needs to, but I would have, I literally just missed a goal like this recently. Because it's all about how you dodge, right? Like you have to dodge perfectly to hit a square.
Yeah, so like if you dodge wrong here, you're not going to get the power you need to keep this up.
Yep.
Because like you said, it's coming at such a weird angle. All the momentum is coming against Scrub here, that when he comes into this, he has to not only place his nose perfectly, but flip perfectly. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why he even puts it top corner, is because like even he struggles to get this in this moment, at least, with, you know, however many thousands of people watching you on the big stage. You're in the grand finals for your first time ever. You know, and it's up to you to score this 0 second goal in front of this net with this super awkward angle. And just the fact that he's able to sink this, put it in, I really think that this goal was the moment they won the series.
Super interesting. Well, thanks for doing this, man. This is like so interesting. I just want to play Rocket League now. Like it just makes me like so excited just seeing.
Yeah,
because the way you break it down is super interesting. You point out stuff that I don't really notice or like even think of in these plays.
Yeah, and it's just like I've worked with the players for so long that like it became like this is, you know, what has to happen. And so if it doesn't, then I notice, oh, you know, he didn't do that right. But like when they do everything right, it's just for me, it's just so easy to point out like this is why he did everything right.
Yeah, it's super interesting.